Hello and welcome to Unshackled with Tash. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. I know that my podcast is going into many countries at the moment, so thank you and welcome. I also want to thank everybody that's been joining me weekly and has been giving me feedback and reaching out. And I love the feedback I got from last week's podcast from Hayley Wallace on the land healing and the intuitive healing that she does and intuitive teaching. So thank you to everyone. And it's amazing when, people start to recognize how much energy plays a part in our healing and our body and our health. So I love that. I also love, I'm getting so much feedback on the actual podcast. The first 12 weeks has been the program that I teach, and that's just a snippet of what I do. Obviously, coaching and working in a program and doing the work is obviously very different to just listening to a podcast. There's so many layers to these healing modalities. So thank you. And again, thank you to everybody all over the world that's listening to this. I am absolutely my heart is full when I know that this is having such an impact on everyone. So today's topic is something that's very, very dear to me, and it's actually helped me heal a lot. And I had an understanding of post-traumatic stress, but I didn't have any understanding of complex post-traumatic stress. And that's what the topic is today. And I really want to honor this topic because I obviously work in it a lot with my clients, and there's so many layers to this, and there's so many things to learn about this, and I want to honor it. So I'm going to use some of my notes that I use in my program. So if I do look away, it's because I just want to make sure that I get everything, because this is information that helps people so much, and I don't want to miss anything. And it really does give people an understanding of why they do what they do, or why they don't do what they should do, or how they've ended up in these situations over and over again. And again, this is not a blame game. This is not about blaming our parents or our caregivers or anything like that. They were handed a particular blueprint and they gave it to us. I'm not condoning abuse. I'm not condoning abuse. Been there, and I've spent the last 8 years healing. I wasn't even aware of the amount of abuse that I endured as a child because my brain had protected me from so much. But I tell you what, I have forgiven the people that have abused me. I have forgiven a lot of situations. Have I forgotten them? Some of them I didn't even remember till I did the depth and the deep, deep work. But it made a lot of sense for where I ended up in life. So again, it is not our fault, but it is our responsibility to heal these wounds, okay, so that we don't pass it on to our children and our grandchildren and the next generations. And that's been a massive passion for me. So if I do look away, it's because I am wanting to cover all the notes that I have, because it is a really, really important topic, and it will help a lot of people understand where they're at. So, have you ever wondered why some people just seem unable to move on from their past or an event that's happened, or why certain situations trigger overwhelming reactions, and you just can't understand it? And I had people say that to me, like, get over it, God, it's finished, let it go, right? Which is really hard at the time, because you want to let it go, but I'll explain why you don't let it go, okay? And why you keep repeating the same patterns and programs, even though you know better. Logically, you know better, but your nervous system doesn't, okay? So ask yourself, could it be trauma? More importantly, could it be complex PTSD? A lot of people don't know the difference. Now, for me, most people know my story, but for those that don't, or just jumping in here, my trauma 9 years ago, which was a near fatal accident whilst I was a paramedic. We had a mental health patient deliberately drive into us at 100 kilometres an hour and turned his lights off, so we did not see him coming. I was driving that night, and that night changed my life completely. That event, I know for a fact that there was a period where I had a loss of consciousness, and it was, I don't know how long, but it wouldn't have been that long, but it was a period where my brain switched off because it knew I was in danger, and everything went white. Okay? Now, that trauma put me down the path of post-traumatic stress. I ended up in a facility for 6 months. I didn't want to be here anymore. I lost everything. I lost my career, my relationship. I lost being a mum. I lost everything. Worst of all, I lost myself. Okay? But what that event did was it actually exposed it exposed that I was carrying unresolved childhood trauma and wounds and patterns. Okay? And they were unconsciously dictating my life. And I didn't know any of this. I knew I was going through PTSD, and I knew that I wasn't well, but I had no idea that Pandora's box was opened. And I ended up obviously finding out that I had complex PTSD due to my childhood trauma. Again, this is not a blame on my parents, and I don't judge. I did at the time, but now that I've done all the healing and the deep work that needed to be done, and I'm saying deep work, I used every modality and plant medicine, and I wanted to heal. I so desperately wanted to heal what was going on within my body, because this exposed so much suffering within me, and it gave me so many answers to why I ended up where I did, and the choices and the decisions I made, and the people I attracted into my life. So there's my desire today is to show you the difference between PTSD and complex PTSD. Okay, so what is PTSD? PTSD is usually linked to a single event, a single traumatic event, or a series of traumatic events occurring within a defined period. Okay, and the nervous system gets stuck in survival, and the brain continues acting as though the danger is still present. Okay, and that is the worst feeling, because you're living in high levels of cortisol and adrenaline. Your brain does not switch off. And the examples for those are car accident, military combat, assaults, natural disasters, emergency services, frontline workers, medical emergencies, a traumatic death of a loved one, things like that. Okay, and the common symptoms for PTSD is flashbacks, hypervigilance, anxiety, panic attack, avoidance behaviour, emotional distress when reminded of the event, nightmares. Like, it's horrible. And I was living with that after my accident, and I honestly felt like I was going crazy. And I had been in the ambulance service for nearly 3 decades, just under 30 years. And none of those jobs that I did caused me to be like this, okay? But there's a reason, and this is going to come out in this topic today. And so, for example, for me, after my event, if I saw an ambulance or heard a siren, my body would just go into panic, anxiety, sweating. I wanted to vomit. I would cry. I would cry in the middle of the street. Now, I loved that job. That uniform was my world. It was my identity. So after that accident, every time I was near an ambulance or anyone that was in an ambulance, I would freak out. My hypervigilance would be next level. And I couldn't understand it, because this was my world, right? Smells, the memories, the what do you call it? The memories, the smells, all of those things that reminded my brain that I was in danger. Okay, this was after my accident. All right, and what happens is the brain believed that I was still in danger, even though I wasn't. The brain believed it, and the nervous system was stuck in survival. Okay, that's your PTSD. Okay, your complex PTSD develops from repeated trauma over time, usually within your childhood or long-term relationships, narcissism, manipulation, all those things. But again, that goes into the work we do. It is not one event, okay? Complex PTSD is not one event. It is death by 1,000 cuts, okay? It's an event that keeps going and going and going and going and going. It just keeps, like it never stops. So your body, your brain, your nervous system is constantly in high alert, survival, threat. It's horrible what it does to your body. So example of complex PTSD is growing up with emotional neglect, unpredictable parents, alcoholism, abuse, domestic violence, constant criticism, dismissed, unseen, being ignored, walking on eggshells, that constant walking on eggshells in your home environment because you're never safe. And that was that whole lot there was my upbringing. And I was so robbed of my childhood. And that's taken me a lot of work to get through. And then one of the other ones is the long-term toxic, nasty relationships where sadly the person becomes the boiling frog and just adapts to that environment. And I speak about the boiling frog analogy. And what's really important here is with complex post-traumatic stress, the issue is often not what happened. The issue is often what happened repeatedly, okay? So being in an environment where you were not safe, you were not loved, you might have had parents there, but one was emotionally unavailable and the other one was absent, violent, alcohol, DV, all of those things. A child cannot be safe in that environment, okay? Cannot be. You have no idea the impact that type of behaviour has on a child and the decisions and the person that they become later in life because of that. And the other thing is, it's not it's what happened repeatedly, but it's what should have happened but didn't. Love, safety, security, consistency, all of those things. And the biggest difference between PTSD is and complex PTSD is something bad happened to me. Complex PTSD, something shaped me. Okay? Something shaped me. PTSD affects your relationship with an event, an accident. Complex PTSD affects your relationship with yourself. Yeah. Now, I'm going to give you some impacts of complex PTSD, and for those people that recognize this straight away, again, this is no judgment on your family. This is not a bagging out your parents. This is awareness and getting you to understand that there's something deeper that you need to work with before you hand it on, if you haven't already. And you can fix this, as I've been doing within my family. The impact of complex PTSD is identity, self-worth, boundaries, values, standards, trust, emotional regulation, relationships, attachment styles. Okay? And the common beliefs with complex PTSD is I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, I don't matter, I have to earn my love, people will leave me. These are all my programming. And I had no idea till after this accident. And, I have to keep everyone happy, the people pleasers, the perfectionists, the people that will put everyone else before them, self-abandonment. I was the queen of self-abandonment, okay? And these become unconscious blueprints. You don't even know you're doing it. Like, honestly, I know that I made some choices and decisions in my life that I have to now look back at my unconscious blueprint I guess, made me do. Wasn't intentional, and it definitely wasn't conscious. I have lived 5 decades in survival. That's a lot on your body, okay? And the problem with, you know, the nervous system connection with this complex PTSD is, you know, why do we need to understand the nervous system? Because these reasons. Trauma lives within the nervous system, okay? It lives there. It's like the body keeps score, and I talk about this all the time. And it's not simply in the memory, and it's not simply in the story, okay? You can logically know that you're safe, okay? You can logically know that you're safe, but your body may still believe you're in danger, and that's what happens. And this is why self-sabotage, ruining relationships, why you attract people that are avoidant, narcissistic, because to you, that's normal, okay? And when you have a low self-worth and a low self-esteem, you pick people that don't put you as a priority, okay? Or they don't help you feel good about yourself. And that, again, is not on that person. It's who we attract because we have such a low vibe blueprint, okay? And the problem with the complex PTSD is it creates what it does, it creates fight or flight, freeze or fawn, okay? And this is how you live in survival and threat constantly. So many people spend decades living in survival mode, which is what I just said, and without even realizing it. They think it is their personality. It is often their protection strategy. 100% me. 100%. And if you don't know it, you can't fix it, okay? And this has been one of the biggest things that I want to help people with, okay? And my biggest thing is talk therapy doesn't work. It's great to talk about it, 100%. But talk therapy alone will not help you heal from PTSD or complex PTSD, okay? Insight is valuable. Awareness is important. Understanding your story matters. But understanding alone doesn't regulate a nervous system. And I know a lot of people get narky over this. I can tell you, I've just spent years in the healing process. I've spent years researching, training, and going through different modalities to learn what's best for nervous system regulation. And healing requires awareness, emotional processing, nervous system regulation, somatic work, pattern interruption, rewiring beliefs, which is all our neuroplasticity and all our, our changing our beliefs and our story behind the events. With the complex, because it has been for such a long time and it's repetitive, it does take some work, and it takes a lot of discipline, a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of courage and strength, because things come up and you get very angry and you become very, very, I'm just going to say it, pissed off with everyone that wasn't there to help you, or the people that you've let come into your life, or the people that you've let go because it wasn't conscious, it was unconscious. When you are living in survival, you are constantly scanning for trouble. You are constantly scanning for danger. And like I've said in my previous episodes, you will find as much evidence as you can to support your belief system. But until you change that belief system, which is what I do in my Unshackle program, you will continue the same patterns, the same programs, just different faces, different places, different workplaces, different scenarios, but the same outcome, okay? So what we do in my Unshackle program is we don't just talk about the problem. We identify the blueprint that created it, okay? And I'm going to run through a list of things that we explore, okay? Just so I don't miss any. So we've got childhood programming, beliefs and conditioning, attachment styles, emotional triggers, core needs, boundaries, values, standards. Boundaries are a game changer. Parts work, which is internal family systems. We do shadow work. We do nervous system regulation. And why does this matter? Because you cannot heal what you cannot see, and you cannot change a pattern you don't understand. You can logically think, oh yeah, I'm going to change that. But if you don't know why you do it, your subconscious just takes over. Like I've said in my other episodes, your ego and your subconscious runs the show until you are aware and change that. Okay? It runs on autopilot. 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. 90% of those are subconscious. And you cannot create a different future whilst operating from an unconscious blueprint. And that's why this is so, so important, okay? To understand the difference and why you are possibly doing what you're doing, why you are self-sabotaging, why you're a procrastinator, why you're a perfectionist, why you're a workaholic, why you use substances for abuse, why do you check out, why do you withdraw, why do you avoid, why do you constantly attract narcissists or avoidant men or women, both sexes. It's a pattern, it's a program within you. But like I said, your post-traumatic stress is very different to your complex. And this goes so much deeper, but just for a snippet of what this is and, what you can do to help yourself, help your children, help your family, help your next generation, this is where the Unshackled comes in. And this is what I love to help people with, because I cannot believe how much it's helped me in the last 8 or 9 years. So if you recognize yourself in today's episode, please know this: there is nothing wrong with you, okay? The nervous system has adapted to survive. And I want to get this out there clearly, okay? The patterns that frustrate you today may have once protected you. Guarantee you that's what's happened. But what protected you as a child may be limiting you as an adult now. 100%. Did it myself, watching so many other people do it. These relationship hoppers, these people that cannot be alone for too long, that need another relationship, that manipulate, that, blame everyone else, that judge other people. People that judge other people, it's a silent confession, okay? And that's been one of my biggest lessons. The amount of people that judge people that are going through stuff. It's just because they're so afraid to face themselves, because it is a lot of work. Healing's not about becoming someone else. Healing is about coming home to self, which is what I love to help people do. And that is exactly what Unshackled is about, okay? So have a look at what I've spoken about today and see which one resonates with you. For those that have gone through something, are you PTSD or are you complex PTSD? Big difference. And as I said, Unshackled program is what helps and has helped hundreds of people and lots of people within a program, one-on-one coaching, my podcast now. It is helping so many people understand where they're at and why they're there. And I'd love you to ask yourself, what have you learnt from this today? Like, what has it shown you? And be really radically honest with yourself here, okay? And if you feel this has really helped you, please share this with someone. Please share it with anyone that you feel could get some benefit from this, okay? Sometimes it just takes one comment from one different person. You can hear this all over the place, but one person, and often it's because somebody's gone through it. And I can tell you now, there's nothing I haven't gone through. And the depth of work I've had to do to get myself through to this has been next level. And like I say, people have no idea what people go through until they actually really sit with them and ask the story, okay? And, the other thing is, if you're ready to uncover your unconscious beliefs and your programming, Unshackled's for you, okay? Reach out. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Facebook, or often I'll just get referred by friends. So please reach out if this is in any way, shape or form really resonated with you. Please don't wait any longer. I love what Dr. Joe Dispenza says, he says, jump in to changing your beliefs and breaking the habit of being yourself before something major happens and it makes you do it. And that was one of my biggest lessons, because I did get a lot of warnings before the accident, but I ignored it because of fear and ego and identity. Okay, so I'm living proof that you can get through really, really tough trauma that has sat in my body for 5 decades. And I'm still working. Healing is an ongoing process, but I certainly don't have the effects of PTSD and complex PTSD that I used to have. I will still have triggers, but how I deal with them are very, very different to how I have in the past. So thanks everyone for joining us today, and I hope you got something from this, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.